About 10 months ago, when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers lost 3 out of their 5 games, and actually 3 out of 4 games in a 4-week span in the month of November, I made this video. Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are not getting along, and the reason why is obvious. And for some reason, people love to go on that video and say, this hasn't aged well, without even watching the videos. Well, after fixing this issue, they did end up winning a Super Bowl, of course, and today we got the greatest evidence as to why that take was actually spot on and very much on the money, because Bill Belichick came out and accused Tom Brady of something crazy. So what's going on, guys? Your boy Mike here. Real quick, guys, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm giving away a signed jersey of your choice. All you have to do is be following me on Instagram or on my brand new Twitter account at Mikerophone NFL. I also made a brand new TikTok in the event that you guys are into that and you just want to see 1-minute takes on TikTok. It's also at Mikerophone NFL. And we got a lot to talk about today. There's so much interesting information that came out in regards to Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So now that we got all that out of the way, break.
Bill, can you believe what the two of them are doing production-wise so late in their career, especially Tom at 44?
Yeah, no, nothing Tom does surprises me. He's a great player. Works hard, takes care of himself. You talk about playing till 50. I mean, if anybody can do it, he probably can.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? There's been a lot of interesting anecdotes from the coverage of Tom Brady returning to Gillette Stadium as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With the first thing being that, of course, Bill Belichick did what he should do and took some time to actually praise his former quarterback, whom he had tremendous amounts of success with and whom he won 6 Super Bowls with. I mean, I think the media is really underrating how much praise that Bill Belichick gave to Tom Brady.
Do you consider him a tough quarterback to defend?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just tough. He's as tough as any quarterback there is or ever has been. I mean, enough said. I mean, his numbers are incredible. He's about to pass the all-time passing record. He's done more than any other player at that position. In whatever measurement you want to take, whether it's yards, completions, touchdowns, championships, you name it. So put anything out there you want. It doesn't get any tougher than him.
Like, the man said everything there is to say, from him quite possibly being the greatest achiever in terms of the quarterback position. And these are very genuine compliments. He's not just going out and saying he's the greatest of all time. He's saying everything from a statistical aspect to championships to longevity, Tom Brady has covered, which he's 100% right. But there are points in this coverage where it gets a little interesting. Now, I'm sure you guys are familiar that, now I'm sure you guys know, and if you didn't, I highly recommend you check it out. A couple of days ago, I dropped a documentary-like video called Tom Brady's Darkest Secret That the Patriots Want You to Forget. In this video, which, by the way, one of our greatest produced videos, we go into a Seth Wickersham article where this man is pretty much a guy that made his living completely stirring up the pot in terms of what the New England Patriots were going through. And there's an even more recent article that Seth Wickersham dropped yesterday. And most of this includes why Tom Brady ultimately left New England. And it isn't really something that's new info to us. We cover this in the video. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Tom Brady went to Bill Belichick and said, hey, coach, I want to play until I'm age 45. And Bill Belichick looked at Tom Brady and said, okay, well, I know you're a remarkable football player, but I don't think anyone has ever played until the age of 45 before. And the odds of him being able to achieve it, although he is currently achieving it and being successful at it, are very, very slim. Of course, when you stay with the same team that you've been with throughout the entirety of your career, chances are that team isn't really going to take your input seriously if they've drafted you since day one and you've become a superstar, at least in the NFL. I don't really see that happening much in the NBA. As a result, Tom Brady would ultimately leave the New England Patriots to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This article is absolutely insane. For example, an anecdote includes that Bill O'Brien told a colleague that he tried to get fired as the head coach of the Houston Texans because he thought he might be able to succeed Bill Belichick. And what's hysterical is, while he was trying to get fired, Bill O'Brien eventually would get promoted and got to not only be the head coach of the Texans, but he was also the general manager of the Houston Texans as well. Bill O'Brien now works with another former Belichick colleague or a member of the Bill Belichick coaching tree, at least semi-member of the coaching tree, not directly, in Nick Saban, where he's the Alabama Crimson Tide's offensive coordinator, and I'm assuming he's just going to stay there until there's a good coaching opportunity that comes up for him. But other things that are in this article are things like Tom Brady being tired of taking team-friendly deals with no input into how much money saved was spent, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, if Tom Brady's taking a pay cut, I'm assuming he's sitting there saying, hey, I took a pay cut, now go get me some good wide receivers. And with the money that was being saved, Bill Belichick was getting in wide receivers like Mohamed Sanu. The other stuff in this article doesn't necessarily 100% relate to Tom Brady, because most of the stuff that did relate to Tom Brady we already covered in our video, like this anecdote saying that Tom Brady didn't want to play for Bill Belichick anymore in 2017. The rest of it goes into other things like Deflategate, Spygate, Bill Belichick supporting Donald Trump, and Bill Belichick benching Malcolm Butler and his response to it after the Patriots lost a Super Bowl. And this is all Belichick had to say about the Seth Wickersham article.
So it was reported this morning that he preferred to speak over the phone with Tom when he delivered the news he'd be leaving the organization in March of 2020 and didn't want to meet in person. Was that true?
No, that's not true. And I've heard a few things about this book, and sounds like it's a lot of second, third, and fourth hand comments. So, but I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to focus on this game and try to prepare for the Bucs.
Now, if you watched my video, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians are not getting along, and the reason why is obvious. The main point of the video, which, by the way, has since been changed, is the fact that Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, first of all, huge props for them figuring it out. Literally had a year to figure out how to work together. The time was ticking on how quickly Tom Brady could get on a new team, how quickly Tom Brady could learn an offense that would make him as successful as he was with the New England Patriots. And so far, although Brady was having some great games with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, at the same time there were games where they just were not clicking. And a huge problem that Brady had to deal with was Bruce Arians' offense was very much so an offense that didn't run any pre-snap motion whatsoever. It was an offense that was very dependent upon specific wide receivers making specific decisions in certain situations. And for the most part, you could look at what Carson Palmer said in regards to Bruce Arians' offense to get an idea of how difficult it truly is, saying that it takes years. It takes years for the quarterback, and it takes years for the guys outside, because there's multiple opportunities where wide receivers have the opportunity to run one of two routes, and they don't make that decision, and you make that cut until they get to the top of the route. And that's just something that you need time. You need experience within that system, and that's something that you don't have. Now, Palmer was saying this in regards to Jameis Winston after Jameis's first year with Bruce Arians, which obviously he didn't have a second year with Bruce, but you get what I'm saying. Ultimately, what would go down, and this is a huge theme of Tom Brady's time in Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers would always favor his input over everyone else's. For example, my favorite example here is Bruce Arians didn't want to work with Antonio Brown anymore. He had a brief period where he did work with Antonio Brown when he was the offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. I guess he just didn't want to work with him again. But Tom Brady wanted to play with Antonio Brown. Ultimately, once Antonio Brown was free, he did go ahead and get Antonio Brown signed to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though it was against Bruce Arians' wishes. Even when it came down to the offensive play calling and the offensive scheme that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would end up running, well, it looks like the entire shift from Bruce Arians' style of offense was shifted to the exact same type of offense that Tom Brady would run in New England. Again, if you go back and look at film with Bruce Arians' time in Arizona or Bruce Arians' first year with Jameis Winston, there's no pre-snap motion at all. Yet, if you watch a Tampa Bay Buccaneers game now, whether it be their last game against the Rams or their next game against the Patriots, you'll see a ton of pre-snap motion to assist Tom Brady in reading the defense and making proper adjustments at the line of scrimmage, which is ultimately why they won the Super Bowl, by the way, which hats off to Bruce Arians for giving up his pride and winning a ring. That's the biggest thing that changed ever since I made that video, and I'm glad they made that change. Guess who decided to call them out for making this change? none other than Bill Belichick. And there's a clapback from Bruce Arians as well.
Bill, you've gone against Bruce Arians' offenses in the past with several different teams. How different does this one look schematically, philosophically, and does it bear Tom's input?
No, totally. Yeah. 100%.
What stands out the most of this?
It's the offense he's run his whole career. Well, I mean, it hasn't evolved here, but, you know, the running game is the running game. The running game's different, but the passing game's the passing game. It's pretty similar. I mean, you could call almost every play from the flare control to the protection to, you know, similar to the way we do it.
So that was a very little slight jab from Bill Belichick to Bruce Arians. And honestly, I believe him. It looks like Tom Brady is running the exact same offense that he was running in New England. And at the same time, you can't really blame the guy. There probably would be virtually no chance of success if he did not do this. The reason being, if he has to go in and master one of the most complicated offenses in the history of the NFL when he's in his age 43 season with a bunch of brand new teammates, then he'd probably have an 8-8 season his first year, and maybe it'll get a little bit better the year after, but that's a whole year of Tom Brady that you're wasting. Also, it's even more impressive that Tom Brady was able to completely teach a brand new team and his head coach the offense that he would run in New England. That's insanity to me. But of course, Bruce Arians is not going to back down from these comments, and to be honest, I don't really buy what Bruce Arians is saying here, so let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about Bruce's response.
Hey Bruce, Belichick talked earlier today. He was very complimentary of you and your team. He was asked about how this offense compares to what Brady ran in New England, and he said totally 100% that it has his imprint on it. He said the running ain't different, but the passing game is the passing game. It's pretty similar. You could call almost every play from the flare control to the protection. Do you worry at all that if it's that similar, that their staff knows it well?
No, I think they copied a lot of more, so it's probably the same. As the much film they watch every week. That always cooked ours up, watched it, so it's the same.
Now, no disrespect to Bruce Arians, because at the same time, he won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady by doing something that Bill Belichick could never do, and that's giving up his pride and giving Tom Brady what he wanted. But in this instance, man, I don't buy it one bit. Like, I do think the Buccaneers copied Tom Brady's offense in New England, down to getting Tom Brady his own version of James White this year in Giovanni Bernard, to getting his own version of LeGarrette Blount in Ronald Jones, and to be honest, his wide receiver core is just unlike one that I have ever seen in my entire life. He has the ability to run 2 tight end sets because Cameron Brate, OJ Howard, and Rob Gronkowski are all phenomenal tight ends. Scotty Miller is a tremendous slot threat when he's available, and when he isn't available, they put Antonio freaking Brown over there. So I think Tom Brady's current team is pretty much his old offense in New England on steroids, because he has many savvy veterans that are out here taking pay cuts to play with him, even though they're no longer at the prime of their careers. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this. Do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers stole Bill Belichick's offense? Aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and consider turning on our notifications. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.